Jeremy. I wish to offer you my continued support and record my outrage at the destructive antics of what appears to be a majority of the PLP. As you're no doubt are fully aware, this situation has no relevance to the referendum outcome, but a deliberate attack by a bunch of disgruntled opportunists. Is it not ironic that it was the Tories and Cameron in particular that presented them with the chance they wanted? Your objective of creating a new and radically different system of politics based on passion, purpose and a determination to challenge the fundamental problems facing the country that blight the lives of so many people was inspirational. During my 10 years in the European Parliament, I became increasingly convinced that the gulf between the EU institutions and the people would soon become a chasm. That is now sadly only too evident. The process tragically was eagerly followed during the Blair years, both ante and post 1997. Party members, trade unions and millions of affiliates began to feel ostracised. Blair and his supporters saw the Labour movement as an obstacle, not an ally. Many of the current crop of so-called rebels in the PLP were an integral part of that corrosive process. Labour support and the involvement of activists in local communities, so vital to any chance of electoral success, suffered as a result. The movement will long remember those who, at this critical time of crisis and division, the like of which I have not seen in my lifetime, chose to create mayhem when we should be united in exposing the pirates and the Tories masquerading as a government. During the referendum campaign, we heard much from the leaders about taking control. I agree. I want to see the Labour Party taking at least a controlling interest on behalf of the nation of those areas vital to our future prosperity and destiny. May I suggest the following that, in my opinion, fall into that category. Railways, energy, water. Devolve meaningful powers to local authorities. Remove the obstacles to trade unions conducting their legitimate activities and their voice being listened to by government. For generations they have been a constant force for progress. The banks. Why do we need to create a government-established National Investment Bank? We already own one. It's called the Royal Bank of Scotland. We should commit to a financial transaction tax so that the capital markets make a serious contribution to the national well-being. Education. Remove selection as a basic policy. The charitable status of private schools should be abolished. Academies and so-called free schools should at the very least be under local authority control. And the growing scandal of private investors in such schools, milking the system for personal gain from the public purse or for connected businesses, should be ended as a priority. We must make clear our unbending commitment to redistribution of wealth, mainly through an effective progressive tax system. We should clearly state our intention to mount a determined attack on the scourge of inequality. Remove competition from the NHS and complete our intention to merge the NHS with social services. Oppose replacement of the Trident system and redirect the £100 billion into investment in the social, economic and industrial framework of our country. Attack and destroy the fallacy so successfully argued by the Tories that private is good and public is bad. There is little of greater importance to the country than energy provision and future security. How can the country tolerate a situation where the Tories, so ideologically opposed to public ownership, then turn a significant part of our future energy provision over to the French and Chinese government-owned companies? In a desperate effort to seal the deal, they then promise that the British consumer will be required to pay at least 3 times the current rate per kilowatt hour. The principle involved here, that has been an inherent factor in the 3 decades of privatisation, is one that should be anathema to the Labour movement and a potent challenge to any sense of fairness I can recognise. Transferring the cost of such projects from the public purse to the consumer is by definition potently regressive. Our constitutional situation is in uncontrolled meltdown. Labour should take the lead and establish a working group to consider the necessary steps needed to create a federal Britain. We've no need to wait until we form a government. This vital work can be initiated by you now. The Tories were successful in shifting the blame for the financial crisis of 2008 from the banks, who effectively went on strike and refused to lend to each other, to the Labour government. We cannot allow the same deception to be perpetrated again, as seems to be the case with immigration. The scapegoating of immigrants has been solely to blame for the Tory-inspired crises in the NHS, schools, housing and employment is not only untrue, but a situation that should shame the entire land. Human rights have been systematically trashed by the Tories and their cheerleaders in the press. We must be in the forefront of defending and promoting this building block of civilization. My belief is that if human rights are abused in Tibet, so are mine in this country. The country is screaming out for radical Labour to discover its soul and determination to create a fair, progressive, diverse, international country. The first task is to inspire the millions of Labour supporters who feel abandoned. That will require policies that are intended to change dramatically and alter the future course of the country. A country where everyone, especially those so cruelly treated by globalisation and Tory austerity, can once more feel they're valued and important. Finally, I read an article by David Hare in The Guardian 2nd of July. He was greatly concerned, as are many of us, at the outcome of the referendum. He made what I believe to be a profoundly important statement. Quote, "Democrats have no duty to endorse democracy's every outcome. In the context of a campaign riddled with lies and distortion, this proposition is worthy of significant thought." Yours for eternity.